And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Manitoba, a game in which you are... What are you trying to do in this game? You are going to Canadian province, and you are trying to become the chief tribe and looking ahead at the future and being a great chieftain. Okay, from what I understand, this game takes place in Manitoba, a hilly, beautiful province with these great totems. And then I talked to people from that area, and apparently it's very flat, and they don't use these totem poles. So, go figure. Shockingly, a Euro game with an odd theme. But the game itself, it does really a gorgeous looking production. It's made from DLP Games, who's put out some pretty cool stuff like Orleans. Let's take a look. So there's a couple things. There's going to be this totem path here where players are going to be moving up on this path with their Cree pieces. Each player is going to have their own player board. And there's also going to be a board out here that resources are going to be popping up on. There's 4 resources. There's buffalo, horses, canoes, and berries. And then there are feathers, which are sort of a wild resource. Now, at certain points over the course of the game, scoring is going to happen. When scoring happens, you'll be taking off all the pieces on one of these. So let's say, for example, I have 4 berries here. I would take all these off and score 7 points. And there's a limited number of resources in the game, so you may not even be able to go higher on these. But you'll notice that they move up at different numbers. You'll see the berries go up slowly. The buffalo are 1, 2, 4, 8, 12, 18, 24. Horses are 2, 4, 5, 10. Then 11, 15, there's a kind of weird scoring on each of these. And you, when a scoring takes place, are going to have to score it and remove them. However, as the game goes by, you're moving up on these. When you move past certain spots, this, for example, when my piece gets past here, says I don't have to score for berries. So if a berry scoring happens, I can choose to ignore it. So maybe I'm at the 5 for horses and I want to wait till I get to 10 and a horse scoring is coming up. I can click here and say, I'm going to skip the horses. So the way this game works is on a player's turn, and turns are going to take place on seasons. There's going to be 2 winter seasons here. This basically tells you how to start the game. Everyone's going to get 1 of each resource. You're going to put 1 of your Cree out on the board out here and take the resource of that type. So maybe I'll put 1 here and take a canoe. And then you also start on 1 of the tracks on the board. And then whoever's first player will go first. And then when that season's over, we go and do this season. When those seasons are finished, when winter season's finished, we're going to pull out the next season for spring. So there's always going to be a card 3 and 5, and then you're going to shuffle and find cards 1, 2, and 4. And then you're just going to place them in order here, like this. And so after each season, something is going to happen. This is going to keep track. So everyone's going to get 1 resource of their choice. After seasons 3 and 5, you're going to be placing on here, you're going to put some random scoring tokens. So here you can score canoes or buffalo. Here you'll score buffalo or horses. Sometimes you have to score a very specific one, like maybe buffaloes. And sometimes you score the one that you have the most of. And then various things will happen at the end of the whole season. Feathers go away, so while they're wild and powerful, you can't keep them from season to season. But on a player's turn, they're going to be using this stack here. And you're going to pick a color that you're going to use. So let's say on my turn, I decide I want to use the brown one for buffaloes. So I take the brown disc, I take the stack, everything that's on top of the brown disc, and I'm going to flip it over and put it on top here on my board and put this large totem on top of that. I then get 2 actions. One of those actions can be taking 1 of my Cree pieces, and by the way, you can only bring them from your camp. You can't bring any that are in your wigwams. They're kind of sleeping. And place it out here on a buffalo piece, because that's the color I took. If I already have a piece on the board, let's say I had a piece here already. Well, I do have a piece here already. I could move it and take that. That caused me to put fewer pieces on the board. And I can also move up 1 on the tracks here. Now, when you move up on the track, many of the tracks, the first person to do something will get a bonus. So, for example, this track here is points. First person gets a point, everyone else gets a point. First person here gets 2 points, everyone else gets a point. and so on. And the tracks get better as time goes by. This one gives points, this one gives resources, this one gives you special abilities, and the top track here kind of lets you do things that you've already done on other tracks. So there's 4 different tracks you can be moving on. Once the person who's first, the main player, has taken their turn, everyone else will take a turn, but they can only use one of the colors that the person has on the stack here. So they can only use dark brown, light brown, or white. They can't use blue and green. And they can only do one thing. And if they decide to do something on the territories here, they can't add a new guy. They have to take a guy and move it. So if they don't have someone who's adjacent to a spot, tough luck. When that's finished, then you take the discs that weren't used, put them on top like this, and hand that stack to the next person, and it's their turn. I've already mentioned how scoring works over the course of this game, but scoring also will refill all the areas of that type. So if you score, the empty ones will refill, and you'll also bring your Indians back and put them here. Now, as you bring them back, you have to realize that they're going to get stuck here. So one of the actions is you can always just take a whole group of tokens here from this stack, and instead of doing any actions, for each one that you put out there, bring down someone. Of course, you're giving everyone else a lot of actions to choose from when you do that. Also, players can, when they take resources, put them on these spots here on their board. You have to have 3 different ones. If you do that, you're going to get one of these tokens here, which is worth 2 points at the end of the game. Although you can use this at any point to change a berry into another resource of your choice, but if you do so, it turns into only 1 point. However, there are ways to get these back and turn them into 2 points again. You can also bring somebody down into your area where you can use them. Again, that drops it from 2 points to 1 point. So a player is going to be going through the spring, then the summer, and then the fall. And at the end of the fall, the very last scoring phase of the game, players are then going to lose 1 resource of all their types and then score for every one. If you don't have a resource of a specific type, you're going to lose 2 points, as noted on the board. However, if you move far enough on these tracks where you can ignore scoring, you can also ignore scoring that type. And if you get to the end of the white track here, the eagle track, you don't lose those resources at the end of the game. Sounds a little bit more complicated than it is, but most points at the end is the winner. A scoring track is included to keep track of who's winning over the course of a game. And then you have these, which look really cool, and they fit together. And there's no other way to put them together. And I thought, well, why are they even like that? It's because they wouldn't fit in a box this way if they were all together. But they are neat. There's a lot of symbology on them, but it's not that complicated. This board has, randomness because you're going to place these pieces down differently each time. Although, honestly, the locations matter somewhat, but not a lot. The thing I like the most are these season cards because it's kind of neat how the different seasons, they go together that kind of make a panorama. And I just think that's a neat way. And again, the symbology on the cards is pretty easy to understand. We have a pile of various wooden pieces, both the resources and the different Cree pieces, and then the totems, which are pretty neat. The whole thing looks cool. So I really like how this game looks. It has a very vibrant feel to it. As I said at the beginning, the theme is really kind of whatever. You're not really playing a theme here, you're playing a game. So it's a mechanism here, right? And so I look at this game mechanism of this particular one, and that's taking a stack of discs and flipping it and using one of them. So you got some interesting things. You're moving up on tracks with your people, and you don't necessarily want to move up on all 4 tracks because that means you're taking 4 people out of the picture that you could be using on the board in other places. But moving up on all 4 tracks, one gives you points, and they all let you not score. So that's kind of interesting. And then you're also putting people on the board. Now the board honestly is possibly the most or the least interesting part of this game. It's like, ooh, look, I'm moving up on tracks, la-di-da-di-da. I don't care one whit. It's not that interesting. Those tracks just didn't mean anything to me. I mean, not the tracks, the board, moving to the different spots. I can move from one to another. Who cares? The whole geography of it I didn't feel any geography at all. It just was like, oh, I'm in a spot where I can't move next to something else. Oh no. And while that matters for the points of the game, it just I don't know. They could have cut that whole section out. Now, getting the pieces and deciding when to score or not, that's interesting. Looking ahead to see, oh, wow, horses are going to score this round, and at the end of the round, I can score horses again or canoes. So I want to skip the first horse and wait till the second horse scoring. To do that, though, I'm going to need to skip it somehow, so I need to move farther on that track. But if I do this horse scoring, moving up on that track, I'm letting everyone pick from all the actions, which helps them. Maybe I should pick a lower disc, which gives them fewer choices. Or maybe I shouldn't really care about what they do. So that's interesting. Also, when you get resources, do you want to score? Or do you want to take 3 different ones or 4 different ones and get one of those wampums and just say, hey, this is worth 2 points. And I can use it for something. And then if you fill up another one, you can unflip it and maybe use it again. You can't use them on the very final scoring round. But I feel like there's a lot of different options here. And I feel like there's a decent amount of interactivity. You're watching what other people are scoring. You're racing up on the tracks. And people are stealing resources off the board that you plan to go on and get for yourself. There's a very limiting amount of resources in this game. And it was something I struggled with. I was like, oh, wow, I want some more resources, but they're not available at this given point in time. So I like that aspect of it. That plus the fact that it really looks pretty on the board and has nice components make this a nice, solid Euro-style game. I wonder if it's going to stand out in the crowd or if we'll still be talking about it in a year or two. And that's just the fate of many games these days. But as it is, the scores kind of went up and down as time went by. And the way the tracks numbers changed and you move on those other tracks, there were some pretty cool ideas here. But the coolest one for me was taking that totem and flipping it and then using the colors. And the ones you don't use are on the top, which almost guarantees they'll be used the next round. So some nice shove back and forth. And then watching how the different seasons gave you things and looking ahead. This whole looking ahead, I guess that is a little thematic, right? You're looking in visions in the future. But planning for the future, make this more than just tactical and give it a little bit of strategic elements to it. An interesting game, Manitoba. Dice Tower Judgment approved.